This property is in a really lovely part of the country. It is absolutely brimming with beautiful fruit trees. I'm currently in the orange plantation. There is fruit everywhere. A lot of it is just sitting on the ground. I can see that the property's been well looked after. I think just looking at the trees that there's probably a bit of deferred maintenance, but they are brimming with fruit. And what's really amazing about this property is the variety of different fruiters that are here in this 3.5 hectares. Everything from bananas, passion fruit, and apparently there's some rare mango types that have been recently planted, wild potatoes, some sort of berry, many other things that I have no idea how to describe, but it is really a beautiful property. As we arrived here, just way off in the distance, I can hear a little bit of faint doof, but hardly anything really. Certainly wouldn't bother you. I don't know what it's like for the rest of the time, but that property sounds like it's pretty far off. This place is brimming, a beautiful berry type thing. Beautiful. Some sort of variety of watermelon, I'm told. Growing pretty happily. I love watermelon. These things are so nice. Now, I was talking to the owner and asked him approximately how many fruit trees he's got here, and he said he's got absolutely no idea, which doesn't surprise me. And the other good thing is I queried about how they're dealing with the different creepy crawly pests that you get from time to time. There is ants here, as there are everywhere, and he tells me that he uses a natural remedy for those, so that's good news. It's something I'd definitely check out if I was thinking about purchasing a place like this. And the water, it's an artesian well, big tank. So you're never going to have a drama with water here. And I noticed walking through the property that it's articulated around the property, so you can get water into most parts of the place. Always makes me a bit nervous, these big water tanks. There's a lot of weight in those, but you know, looks like it's been built okay. Also see there's some cameras, which is good. I think he said that they're able to be networked, so that's always a bonus. This is the main house, and I had a quick walk to it. Very typical of the style of a lot of places you'll find in Paraguay. And the first thing I'd say is that the owner, as I understand, is some way involved in the material and building industry. He seems like a pretty serious man, and so just at a guess, I think that he's probably done things pretty well in terms of building. This looks pretty straight, nothing sort of sticks out as being like, oh my goodness, why did they do that? But as I say, it's in the style of how they do things, so that's Paraguay. So walking into the property, it's kind of got this open hall area, which is, you know, as I say, it's very common. They like to sort of all get together, and they've got their asado grill. Looks like an oven or something down there. That's pretty cool. So you definitely appreciate this in winter, because if you crank that up, I imagine it would heat this space up nicely. The other thing I note is that the roof is done really well. It's all looks like it's been very thoughtfully sorted out, and it's done well. Nice ceiling fans, that's what you want. And also it's got some sort of insulation on the roof. Some friends of ours had something like this. I think that they put some sort of timber or something over it. I can't remember, but you can put something over that if you prefer another look. But the important thing is that it's pretty well insulated. And inside here, it's a really hot day today. And it's actually really quite pleasant in here, and that's without the fans going. So once you crank those up, this would be a nice cool area. Now, this is where it always gets interesting, is when you look at the design of these places. This room here is really cool. Just with that fan just going on slow speed, it's really nice in here. Obviously really nice modern air cons. You got to love the brickwork. Well, you don't really have to love it, because if you don't, you can always do something about it. You can have it rendered or whatever. So there are options that you can do to soften that effect if that's not your bag. And that's not really too much of a fix. The floors and everything are as straight as. I can't see any signs of any rising damp or anything. So I just get the feeling that this place is probably reasonably well built. Now you've got the conduits running on the walls and stuff. I know that's not most people's taste. And I imagine you could probably sort that out with stucco if you wanted to bling that up, I guess. This is like a walk-in robe from that room. And then you've got a pretty well appointed shower. Nice hot water heater. No Widowmaker. It's a really quite nice shower and jacuzzi. So that's something you don't see a lot here, that level of appointment. Just coming into the kitchen, nice and cool. That fan just going at that speed is really making all the difference. So if those doors and that were closed up, this would be a really nice cool area. You know, a pretty reasonable kitchen by Paraguayan standards. I'm told that all of those elements of the structure come with it, because some of them are, I think, movable, but everything comes, in terms of this building, everything comes with the sale. So, you know, not a bad kitchen, I guess. Goes into another walk-in robe type thing. And you've got a bit of a space and a bathroom. So what have we got? We've got a Widowmaker there. So you've got a couple of bedrooms and enough wardrobe space to store a few hundred suits or whatever. And then it comes out to like this room out here, and you know, it's like a cooking area. It's where they make their sopa, and what we're used to in terms of the way that our buildings are designed is different. And that's a good thing. They've got a electric water heater for their kitchen. So that's always good. And wherever you look, there's water, and everything's been pretty well articulated, and it's pretty good. So just looking around the base, you can see that there's really nothing in the way of indication that it's holding on to any significant sort of water issues. It's done pretty well. There's always things you can do with it, but that building in itself. Well, though it might not be to some people's taste, I can say that it's a really straight building. So just coming over the other side of that internal road, we come over to the other part of the property, and this is quite interesting because it's a beautiful treed area. It's been left in a very natural state. And what occurs to me is that this could really be utilised in various ways depending on what you wanted to do. For example, if you wanted to have a few rentals, then this provides the potential to be able to live on one side in that beautiful fruity zone, and to have this area kind of separate so that if you had some rentals, people could come and go and they've got their own entrance and it doesn't really bother you too much. But it depends what you want to do with it, but I think it's kind of cool. Now this is the casita that they've got on this property, and it's pretty humble but not badly appointed when you check it out. As I say, it really is just a room with a porch, patio, or whatever you want to call it, but it's really quite lovely here. And this is really cool, just with a fan. It's lovely. Nice little bathroom, nice and neat, nice and clean, not dank, or it's really pleasant. The other thing that I've noticed about this place is he seems to have done his electrics well. You know, like it's got Wi-Fi, looks like a near new aircon. So if you were just one up, you could hang out quite readily here, I would think. The building itself is really nicely built in terms of its structure. So another option is you could build this whole area in, I guess, and make some more internal space, whatever you wanted to do, but it wouldn't take much. What we could really need to do is do a little bit of brickwork and put in a sliding door or whatever you wanted to do. But it's got potential for sure. It's got the piscina, which is complete with the pump and all the rest of it. It's a pretty compact little plastic jobby, but it's clean. And because it's partially shaded here, I imagine it'd be quite pleasant to jump in there in the afternoon. It goes out to more area, which is handy. I'm just walking through here, I'm picking up on a bit of doof from somewhere. Nothing dramatic by Paraguayan standards, but always good to note, particularly if you're ever thinking about doing something in regards to having some rentals or something. It's good to at least know so that you can plan. But this is Paraguay, and chances of getting a property without any doof anywhere, you can do it, but it's definitely not to be expected. And if you find it, then you should really thank yourself lucky, but that's pretty livable, that level of music. I've been around this area a bit since we've been in the country, and I think it's pretty chilled. Like any part of the country, you need to be careful in terms of the way that you do things, and make sure you're secure and keep everything sorted. And these are all things that everyone needs to keep in mind. But the way that this is set out, this side of the property, is really opening itself up to potentially, putting something else up. some perhaps other casitas or something, so other options if that was your thing. Or if you had other family members, they could hang out over here, and it's a really independent zone where everyone can have their own space. Got the big chipper oven. I love these. I'd be cooking pizzas there at least a couple of times a week. And this is, again, some form of structure. It's notionally been referred to as a place where people sleep, but I'd be more inclined to either bling it up or maybe it's my second workshop. It's got quite a okay bathroom and everything. Pretty ventilated. So you'd probably want to plug up some holes, but nice outdoor space, so who knows? You could have it as your gallery or whatever else you're into. You could use it for something, that's the important thing. Any buildings like these, I mean, although they're pretty basic, they're here so you can use them, whether it's for storage or whatever. Lights aren't on, but it's got all the wiring, so I don't know what's going on there. But someone would have lived in here at some stage. So that's pretty much the property. Really interesting place. Quite beautiful with all of its fruit. And definitely had a ton of work done on it. Lots of possibilities. So the next building on the property is I think they consider it the caretaker's house. I won't go in there because there's actually a caretaker on the property now. But it's behind me just here. It's basically consists of a room. And then it's kind of like stable areas. I think they must have run some animals here at some stage. So it's probably good if you've got a couple of cows or whatever. It's pretty basic, but it's a space that can be used for various different things. It depends how you want to set yourself up. So I hope you enjoyed the visit to that property as much as I did. I know that area very well. I've often gone past that property and peered in and thought, ooh, I wonder what's in there. So now I know. It's 6.5 kilometres from Caacupe, 9 to Hectare, 25 kilometres to San Bernardino, and 56 kilometres to Asuncion Airport. The asking price is $160,000 US. And here's my thoughts. That area is prime location. When you look at the distances to those locations, you can see that it's in a really convenient location. And it's situated in a pocket that is highly populated by Europeans as well as Paraguayans. So in that particular area, you can find prices in the upper range, not so much in the lower range. Another thing about that property that I think is very attractive, the size of the property, 3.4 hectares. In that particular area, you're going to really struggle to find anything around that sort of size. Most of the time, they're small lotties. The bigger parcels of land have either been bought up or they have been divided up into smaller lots. So to get a parcel of land like that in that location, it's a very rare find. The other things that I like about that property, it's obviously well established, incredible amount of fruit trees, all takes time and money to set that up, well articulated with water. The houses on the property, well, the main house, technically it's built really well. It's got quality appliances. There are aspects of the design that may not be to everyone's liking, but it does lend itself to the possibility that you could get in there and change some things in terms of internal walls, and you could perhaps find an extra bedroom or two, depending on what you like. You could make it so that perhaps a few more people could comfortably live in that particular house. The other good thing about that building is it's very well insulated on the roof, and it's got great air conditioning and fans. On the day that we filmed that, it was sizzling hot. You could probably see by the way I was melting outside, but immediately when I walked inside, I think there was only a couple of ceiling fans going and it was immediately cooler. So that's a really good thing to look out for. The other casita, well, that was really quite sweet. It was very nicely appointed. If you were just a single person or a couple, you could probably find yourself reasonably comfortable in that. And as I say, it wouldn't take too much at all to make that a bit bigger. You could build out that porch veranda area and you could have yourself a bigger dwelling there. The other structures, well, they need work or they could be repurposed for whatever you like. The caretaker's residence where there was stables and so forth, I couldn't film that because I didn't want to invade anyone's privacy, but I think that had some promise, and without too much work you could probably do something pretty cool there. The other nice aspect of the property was the way it was divided. You could have separate precincts of the property that could really be utilised so that if you had family or perhaps you were thinking about putting it on the rental market, it could be very well situated in that regard. Amongst the many aspects of due diligence that I would suggest should be carried out, just to inquire about the neighbourhood noise. How do you do that? Well, I think the easiest way is just to go and knock on some doors. If you can't knock on some doors and feel confident about doing that in an area, well, that gives you an indicator in itself as to what the area might be about. But I think that in that particular location, I don't think you'd have a problem walking up a few driveways, saying hi and getting a feel for what the noise might be like on any particular day. And there's nothing like just asking the question. People are often very open about speaking to you, and it's a bit hit and miss, but it's just a thing to keep in mind. When you're shelling out that sort of money, you want to know that you turn over all the stones that you can. The access to that property is only a short distance down a reasonable dirt road. I think that you'd have no problems in a two-wheel drive any time of the year. Not a really big problem in that regard, but just another thing that you need to assess for yourself so that you're comfortable with the route to that location. But it's definitely not anything difficult in my estimation. Beautiful property, beautiful plantation at, I think, a reasonable price. When you take into account all of the aspects, you're not going to get anything like that, I wouldn't think, in that area, that parcel of land. Well, around there, they're not making them anymore. It's going to be really hard to come across something like that. So a really attractive property to the right person. As always, it's just my opinion. All information in this video needs to be verified. That includes the dimensions and the validity of the title. I've seen the georeference map and the documents, but that's all I've done. I haven't carried out any due diligence as to the veracity of those documents. But I'm just looking at it as a potential buyer. Take your time, don't rush, do your due diligence, and be careful. And until next time, take care. Ciao.